Hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud and today we're taking a look at the Logitech Flight Multi-Panel. A must-have bit of kit for any flight simulator fan. Hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, it really helps me out. And also check out my second channel for YouTube tips and more. Now some of you guys may remember that one of the first videos I actually did on my channel was a review of this panel, but that was horrendous and that video will soon be unlisted. This is kind of the replacement. Now I've had this panel for over a year now, using it on 3 different flight simulators, and I have to say with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it's been the most helpful and funnest if I'm being completely honest. Now you guys can kind of work out what some of the functions are if you haven't done it already, but we'll talk about them in a minute. But first of all, let's address the issue of price. Now originally, about a year and a half ago, I bought this for around £65 in the UK. Although gaming kind of controllers have risen since the start of the pandemic. Now because of the pandemic, it means prices have raised to around £80 in the UK, which is about $100 or 90 euros. Some may say this is quite expensive, but wait until the price comes down, but I still think it's still pretty worth it. But now let's go through the functions. Okay, so right now I'm actually using the Flight Simulator Flight Panel test software that Logitech provide on their website. I'll put a link to that in the description. And this basically just tests out all the LEDs. So if I actually go back on my computer and turn LEDs off, you can see it cycles through them all like that. It works very well. But anyway, let's roll through the functions. So right now, of course, we've got the altitude, so you could twist this in game, and that would increase your altitude up there. We'll see that later. Now here you've got vertical speed. All you need to do is turn that knob. It is a bit tough to turn, even after a year and a half. So if I do it now, it will kind of move the panel everywhere. There we go. And you can see, it's got very nice, it's very tactile to the touch. You can see we've got the grooves here. You've also got indicated airspeed, your heading and course. So you can set up all these functions. Now down here, this is the interesting bit, because of course, not all aircraft autopilots are like this. Now this is the basic autopilot engage and disengage switch. This is the heading, meaning it'll follow the heading you've set either in sim or on here. This is the navigation, which means it will either follow your FMC or MCDU, i.e. the flight plan you set up at the start of it. This is your indicated airspeed, and it works in coordination with your auto throttle to make sure your aircraft gets to the correct speed. This is altitude, which I guess is a bit interesting because I don't really use altitude on its own. I normally either use it with vertical speed. And I think in Microsoft Flight Simulator in the 787, altitude is keyed to VNAV. But because VNAV isn't 100% there yet, I tend to use vertical speed. Now vertical speed lets you choose a range anywhere up to like 5,000 feet per minute, I believe, but on the average airliner, the highest you'll be going is 2,500, meaning your aircraft will travel 2,500 feet up per minute. Vertical speed is of course a very helpful feature. And then moving down here, we've got 2 interesting ones. We've got approach mode, which is used for your ILS approaches and ILS landings, and all that does in the 787 and 747 and A320 is activate both localizer and approach, so there is no localizer as you can see here. Now finally we've got the reverse switch. I believe it means reverse anyway, but that will make you fly away from a VOR. Now I don't really use this. I've used it once or twice in the Cessna, but to be fair, I don't find this one works too well. All this will do will make you backtrack away from a VOR or any other waypoint really. Now moving over to the right corner of the panel, we've got this lovely little switch here, which is the auto throttle off and arm switch. It feels very nice, slightly airy there, which I quite like. Now something I'm not a big fan of with this panel is the flap switch, because over time this comes a bit loose and you can see it is a bit wobbly. Now of course, if you want to bring the flaps all the way up, you just go 1, 2, 3, and then depending on how many flaps you've got, that will bring it up. And then of course, if you want to bring it down, you'll go down like that. Works very well, I have to say. Now this is my favourite bit. This is the pitch trim wheel. And as you guys probably know, aircraft want to be trimmed really, unless you want to be pulling back on your stick or yoke all the time, which isn't the most comfortable experience, to be honest. And this is really nice, really smooth. If I want to trim down, of course I pull it up, and if I want to trim up, I roll it down. Don't know why they did it like that really, but you know. Personally, I think it would be better if you did up like that or down like that, but I guess it reflects the aircraft. So there we go, we've gone through some of the functions of the autopilot panel. Also in the box, you'll get these 4 screws. You also get 2 more longer screws which are in the back. Now this means you can either put a panel on top with these holes, you can just about see them on the video. Or of course, if I turn this to you, you can see we've got 2 holes here, meaning you can connect panels together as opposed to on top of each other. This means it is truly perfect for any modular cockpit builders, it works really well. Now let's hop into Microsoft Flight Simulator and see how it's all set up. Okay, so we're sitting here at beautiful Dubai in the fantastic fly-by-wire A320. This really is class, I have to say. I mean, look what they're doing in the cockpit. We've now got a electric flight bag or iPad coming along now, so that's so cool. But anyway, we're here to test out this panel. So first of all, we're going to set our speed. So we're going to go VR plus 15, I believe. And we're just going to see how that works. Now, of course, it's not really going to do much here because we're on the ground. And there's not really much point in using auto throttle because we're just going to go to flex anyway. But there is our VR plus 15. So yeah, great stuff. And we're now going to set our altitude of 5,000 feet, which is already set for us. But you guys can see we twist this knob. And yeah, it goes up and down as you'd expect. We'll set our vertical speed to 2500 because we haven't got VNAV enabled because I haven't sorted it out basically. We'll get 2 sets of flaps down, so let's just look down to where the flaps are. Press this down once and of course twice. There we go, you guys can see it comes down. This is really actually showing how far my channels came because I remember when I made my first video it was out of sync, so you know. Right, okay, it's now time to take off. We'll disarm auto throttle and see if it, yep, auto throttle turns on, but we don't need it now, we'll get it up when we're in the air. So let's go flex now. Parking brakes off. Oh. Here we go, rolling down the runway at Dubai. I don't know why it spawned us slightly off the runway, it's a bit odd. It also seems to be a problem with my rudder pedals at the moment, but anyway, we'll ignore that. Beautiful, love this. Right, okay, we're reaching V1 now. And we'll begin that pullback. Beautiful. Right, okay, so once we get to a good height, we'll enable autopilot and I'll show you how it works. Get my gear up though, I'm also using the Logitech multi-panel as well. And the aircraft is basically, I've let go now, the aircraft's well trimmed. I've got the trim wheel here, but of course not really, doesn't really do overly much with autopilot. But anyway, let's get autopilot on now. So we'll press autopilot engage. And because we've got the heading on, it starts flying to that heading, which is runway heading. And we'll click vertical speed. And the aircraft will drop down to the vertical speed. Get the both flaps up. Rolling out of Dubai, that looks marvellous, guys. That looks so cool. Now, of course, if we had anything in the navigation MCDU, then that would do something, but we haven't, so we haven't got anything there. We can also swap over to altitude mode, and I think that turns it to open climb in the A320 or VNAV, but I'm not too sure with that. Now, if we were on approach, we could press approach, and you guys can just about see that it, yeah, it goes over to approach mode, basically. But of course, we haven't got that set up, so you won't fully see it. We're now enabled auto throttle because we were going quite fast there. But yeah, you guys can see it fully works. It is a very good tool. I do highly recommend it. With Microsoft Flight Simulator, it is simply a dream. If you want to find out how to install it, all you really need to do is plug in and download the driver from the Logitech support website. I have made a video on that, guys, so if you want to check it out, feel free, here's a link. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a must-have bit of kit for Microsoft Flight Simulator? I certainly do. I really love it. There we go, guys. I'd like to say a massive thank you for your continued support with this channel. Also check out my second channel now for YouTube tips and more. Pilot Stud will of course receive the same amount of attention. Also spot the aircraft carrier right now. Can you guys see it? That's quite cool. But yeah, thanks for coming along. It's been a pleasure to review the Logitech multi-panel. I give it 9 out of 10 stars. It's pretty affordable compared to other panels. It's got loads of functions, from your autopilot to your trim wheel to your auto throttle to flaps, and it works very well. It shows how far simming has come along. I do highly recommend it. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done already. But from me today, that is all. Bye bye.